Chicago, 1963. A small living room, lights dimmed low. A 6-year-old girl sits cross-legged on the carpet, eyes locked on a black and white television screen. The glow flickers across her face as she watches something that will change her life forever. On that screen, Lieutenant Uhura stands at her station on the bridge of the USS Enterprise. A black woman, in space, commanding respect, speaking with authority. The girl leans forward, heart racing. She turns to her mother and says something that sounds impossible. Concebe vau vu trumot gainaojo. I'm going to go into space one day. Her mother doesn't laugh, doesn't tell her to be realistic, doesn't crush that dream. She just looks at her daughter and says, okay, but you have to work hard. Outside that Chicago home, America is burning. It's been just months since Birmingham, since fire hoses and dogs were turned on children who looked like Mae Jemison. Black people are being lynched for registering to vote. Jim Crow might be dying, but it's not dead yet. And NASA has never had a black woman astronaut, never even considered one. The very idea would be laughable to most of America. But Mae Jemison isn't most of America. 29 years later, Mae Carol Jemison would float 190 miles above Earth, traveling at 17,500 miles per hour, becoming the first black woman to touch the stars. But how she got there, the barriers she shattered, the truth about what it took. That's the story they never told you, until right now. This isn't just an inspiring story about following your dreams. This is a revelation about systematic barriers that were designed to keep people who look like you and me out of spaces we built. Mae Jemison didn't just overcome gravity. She overcame 400 years of oppression. She overcame policies written specifically to exclude her. She overcame an educational system that told black girls they weren't smart enough for science. And when she finally made it, they tried to minimize her achievement, call her a diversity, erase her from textbooks. By the end of this video, you'll understand how NASA kept black women out for 29 years. You'll learn about the hidden barriers Mae had to destroy that they don't teach in schools. You'll see why Mae's journey to space was actually a 400-year journey from slave ships to starships. And you'll never look at that wealth gap, that education gap, that opportunity gap the same way again. Because this isn't ancient history. This is your history. This affects your life today. This is your daughter's stolen inheritance. So let me take you back to where it all began. Mae Carol Jemison was born October 17, 1956, in Decatur, Alabama. Her father, Charlie Jemison, worked as a roofer and charity supervisor. Her mother, Dorothy Green Jemison, was an English and math teacher. Mae had 2 older siblings, Ricky and Ada. The family lived in the Deep South during one of the most dangerous times to be black in America. Mae was born just 2 years after Brown versus Board of Education supposedly desegregated schools. But in Alabama, schools were still segregated. Hospitals were still segregated. Water fountains, restaurants, churches, everything separated by race. When Mae was 3 years old, her parents made a decision that millions of black families were making during the Great Migration. They packed up everything they owned and moved north to Chicago. Why? Because they wanted their children to have access to better education, better opportunities, a chance at something more. But here's what you need to understand. Chicago wasn't the promised land. It was one of the most segregated cities in the North. Black families were redlined into specific neighborhoods. They couldn't get loans to buy homes, couldn't get jobs in certain industries. Schools were funded by property taxes which meant black schools got scraps while white schools thrived. The Jemison family settled into a working-class neighborhood on the south side. Charlie worked multiple jobs to keep the family stable. Dorothy taught during the day and tutored at night. And Mae was curious about everything. She wanted to know how things worked, why the sky was blue, what stars were made of, how the human body healed itself. She devoured books on science, read everything she could find about space exploration. This was the 1960s. The space race was everything. America and the Soviet Union were competing to see who could dominate the cosmos. Television was filled with images of rockets launching astronauts in silver suits, the promise of walking on the moon. And Mae Jemison watched all of it with hungry eyes. But she also noticed something. Every astronaut was a man, every single one, and they were all white. The scientists at NASA, white men. The engineers, white men. The mission commanders, white men. Mae would ask her mother, "Why aren't there any astronauts who look like me?" And her mother would tell her the same thing. She always said, "You can be anything you want to be, but you have to work for it. Harder than anyone else." That phrase, harder than anyone else, that's the code Black parents have been teaching their children for generations. Because we know the truth. We know the playing field isn't level. We know the barriers are real. And we know that excellence isn't optional. It's required just to get in the door. Mae took that lesson to heart. She threw herself into school. Math, science, reading everything. She joined dance classes because she loved movement and expression. She studied African history and anthropology because she wanted to understand her roots. And through it all, she kept her eyes on the stars. In 1963, when Star Trek premiered, and she saw Nichelle Nichols playing Lieutenant Uhura, something clicked. Representation matters. Seeing a black woman in space, even in fiction, even on a television show, it made the dream feel possible. Years later, Mae would say, "I wouldn't be on Star Trek if it wasn't for Nichelle Nichols." Because Nichelle showed her that space wasn't just for white men. It could be for her too. Now let me give you some context about what Mae was up against. In 1963, only 2% of STEM students were black women. 2%. Universities had unofficial quotas limiting how many black students they would accept. Medical schools, engineering programs, physics departments, they all had the same unspoken rule: keep the numbers low. And if you were a black woman, you faced double discrimination, racism and sexism at the same time. Professors who assumed you weren't qualified. Classmates who thought you were only there because of affirmative action. A system designed to make you quit. But Mae Jemison wasn't built to quit. At 16 years old, she applied to Stanford University. 16. Most kids are just figuring out how to drive. Mae was applying to one of the most prestigious universities in America, and she got in. Full acceptance, chemical engineering major, Stanford, 1973. Mae walks onto campus and immediately feels the weight of being different. She's one of the youngest students in her class, one of the very few black students in the engineering program, and she's a woman in a field dominated by men. Professors question her presence. They ask if she's sure she can handle the workload. They suggest maybe she should consider an easier major. Mae's response, she doubles down. She doesn't just major in chemical engineering. She adds a second major, African and African American Studies. Because Mae understands something profound. She's not just building a career, she's building an identity. She's claiming her heritage while reaching for the future. During her time at Stanford, Mae becomes president of the Black Student Union. She organizes events, speaks out about inequality on campus, fights for better representation in faculty and curriculum. And she excels academically, not just passes, excels, because Mae knows the rule. You have to be twice as good to get half as far. She graduates in 1977 with honors, 2 degrees, chemical engineering and African American studies. At 20 years old, she's already shattered barriers, but she's just getting started. Next, Mae applies to Cornell Medical College in New York. Why medical school? Because she's thinking ahead. She knows that space travel will need doctors. Astronauts get sick. They get injured. Someone has to understand how the human body functions in zero gravity. And Mae wants to be that someone, so she goes to Cornell. And once again, she's one of very few Black women in the program. The microaggressions continue, the assumptions, the extra scrutiny. But Mae also does something else that people don't expect. She keeps dancing. She takes classes with the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. She studies modern dance, African dance, ballet, jazz. People ask her, "Why are you dancing? You're in medical school. You need to focus." And Mae says something revolutionary. "I am focusing. Dance teaches me about my body, about balance and control and spatial awareness. Everything I'll need in space." Because Mae never lost sight of the dream. While other medical students were thinking about private practices and salaries, Mae was thinking about orbit. She also spent time studying healthcare in developing countries. She wanted to understand how to provide medical care with limited resources, how to innovate when you don't have the latest technology, how to save lives in the hardest conditions. In 1981, Mae graduated from Cornell with her MD, Dr. Mae Jemison, 24 years old, 2 degrees from Stanford, medical degree from Cornell, trained in dance, fluent in multiple languages, including Russian, Japanese, and Swahili. On paper, she was one of the most qualified people in America, but the world still saw her as a Black woman, which meant she still had to prove herself, again and again and again. After medical school, Mae could have gone into private practice, could have made a comfortable living. But that's not what she wanted. She joined the Peace Corps. For 2.5 years, Mae served as a medical officer in Sierra Leone and Liberia. She was responsible for the health and safety of Peace Corps volunteers and local populations. She managed outbreaks, malaria, schistosomiasis, rabies. She developed protocols for hepatitis B vaccine research, and she did all of this as the youngest medical officer in the Peace Corps at that time. Think about what Mae was doing. She was in West Africa, the continent of her ancestors, providing health care to people who looked like her, learning about traditional medicine and modern science, building skills in crisis management and innovation, and every single day she was preparing for space. Because Mae understood something that NASA didn't teach. Space travel isn't just about rockets and math. It's about human resilience. It's about adapting to impossible conditions. It's about staying calm when everything is going wrong. And Mae was learning all of that in the villages of West Africa. In 1985, Mae returned to the United States. She set up a private practice in Los Angeles as a general practitioner. She was 28 years old, successful, respected, living a good life. But something was missing. That dream from childhood. That little girl watching Star Trek. She was still there, looking up at the stars. And then, January 28th, 1986, Mae is at home. She turns on the television, and she watches the Space Shuttle Challenger explode 73 seconds after launch. 7 astronauts dead, including Ronald McNair, the second black man to go to space. The nation is devastated. NASA shuts down the shuttle program, stops all recruitment, and Mae Jemison makes a decision. If not now, when if not me, who? She had already applied to NASA in October 1985 before the Challenger disaster. But the explosion put everything on hold. Most people would have taken that as a sign, given up, moved on with their lives. Not Mae. In 1987, when NASA reopened applications, Mae applied again, this time with even more determination. The selection process was brutal. 2,000 applicants, doctors, engineers, pilots, scientists, all competing for 15 spots. The tests were designed to break you. Physical endurance tests that pushed your body to the limit. Psychological evaluations to see if you could handle isolation and stress. Technical interviews where they grilled you on everything from orbital mechanics to emergency procedures. And on top of all that, Mae faced additional scrutiny. She was 5'4". They said she was too small. She had multiple interests, science and art and dance and culture. They said she wasn't focused enough. She was a black woman. They didn't say it out loud, but the bias was there. In every question, every evaluation, every raised eyebrow. Mae's response, she was flawless. Every test she passed, every interview she dominated, every question she answered with precision and confidence, because Mae Jemison had been preparing for this her entire life. June 4th, 1987. Mae gets the phone call. Out of 2,000 applicants, she's one of 15 selected. She is the first black woman ever accepted into the NASA Astronaut Corps. The first. In 29 years of NASA's existence, they had never admitted a black woman. Not one. And now Mae Jemison was breaking that barrier. But here's what you need to understand. This wasn't progress happening naturally. NASA didn't wake up one day and decide to be inclusive. Mae forced her way in. She was so qualified, so excellent, so undeniable that they couldn't say no. She didn't get in because she was black. She got in despite being black, because the system was designed to keep her out. And she broke it. Let me show you the pattern. Because Mae's story isn't unique. It's part of a systematic exclusion that happened across every field. NASA was founded in 1958. For the next 29 years, 0 black women were accepted as astronauts. 0. During that same time, NASA employed hundreds of black women as mathematicians and engineers. Women like Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, and Mary Jackson. These women calculated the trajectories that sent John Glenn into orbit in 1962. They did the math that put Apollo 11 on the moon in 1969. Their work was essential, literally essential. Without them, the space program doesn't work. But were they ever considered to be astronauts? No. They were good enough to do the calculations, but not good enough to fly. Why? Because NASA's requirements were designed to exclude. You needed to be a military test pilot, but women weren't allowed to be military test pilots. You needed advanced technical degrees, but universities limited how many black women they accepted into those programs. You needed perfect health, but the standards were applied differently based on race and gender. The door wasn't just closed, it was locked, barred, guarded. And Mae Jemison didn't just open it. She kicked it down. Now let me show you how this pattern played out across other fields. Medicine. In 1970, only 2% of doctors in America were black women. Medical schools had unofficial quotas. They would only accept a certain number of black students per year. And if you were a black woman, you were at the bottom of that list. When Mae entered Cornell Medical College in 1977, she was one of maybe 5 black women in her class. The assumption from day one was that she was an affirmative action admission, that she didn't really belong there, that she would probably fail out. Professors questioned her. Classmates doubted her. The system was designed to make her quit. Mae graduated at the top of her class, engineering. In the 1970s, less than 1% of engineering students were black women. Stanford, where Mae went, had maybe a handful. The engineering department was dominated by white men, and they wanted to keep it that way. Black women faced constant microaggressions, being talked over in class, having their ideas dismissed, being told they should switch to an easier major. Mae not only graduated, she excelled, and she did it while also majoring in African American studies and leading the Black Student Union, physics, and aerospace engineering. In the 1980s, about 0.5% of physics PhDs went to black women. 0.5%. Aerospace engineering was even worse, almost zero, because the pipeline was designed to filter black women out at every stage. Underfunded schools meant less exposure to advanced math and science. Lack of role models meant fewer girls even considered STEM careers. Biased testing and admissions meant qualified students were rejected. And hostile environments meant those who made it in often left. Do you see the pattern now? Every field Mae entered, they had built walls. Not one wall, layers of walls. Educational barriers, financial barriers, social barriers, cultural barriers. And behind all of them, one core belief. Black women don't belong in these spaces. But here's what they didn't count on. Mae Jemison was a wall breaker. Not because she was exceptional, though she was, but because she represented generations of black women who were always capable. They just were never given the chance. And now, let me tell you about the others who faced the same battles. Guion Bluford, August 30th, 1983. He became the first black American in space. But think about the timeline. The first American in space was Alan Shepard in 1961. It took 22 more years before a black man got the same opportunity. Guion Bluford was a Vietnam War veteran with 144 combat missions. He had a PhD in aerospace engineering. He was a decorated pilot, and NASA still made him wait. Ronald McNair, February 3rd, 1984, the second black American in space. Ronald grew up in South Carolina during segregation. As a child, he tried to check out books from the public library. They told him the library was for whites only. He sat there and refused to leave until they let him check out books. That's who Ronald McNair was. Determined, brilliant, unbreakable. He became a physicist, earned his PhD from MIT, became an expert in laser physics, and NASA accepted him. He flew one successful mission, and then January 28, 1986, he died in the Challenger explosion, 73 seconds after launch. Gone. Katherine Johnson. She worked at NASA for 33 years. She calculated orbital mechanics for the Mercury program. She verified the calculations for John Glenn's orbit. She worked on Apollo 11, the mission that put the first men on the moon. Her math was so trusted that John Glenn refused to fly until Katherine Johnson personally checked the computer calculations. But Katherine Johnson was never considered to be an astronaut. Never. She spent decades making space travel possible and never got to go herself. She finally received the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2015. She was 97 years old. They waited until she was almost dead to honor her. Mae Jemison, NASA's first black female engineer. She had to petition the city of Hampton, Virginia, just to be allowed to take graduate-level courses, because the classes were held at a segregated high school, and black people weren't allowed. She fought. She won. She took the classes at night. She became an engineer, and then she spent the rest of her career fighting for promotions that were given to less qualified white colleagues. She eventually gave up trying to advance in engineering and moved to a position focused on helping other women and minorities get opportunities. Because the system wouldn't let her rise, Mae Jemison stood on the shoulders of these giants. Giants who were never allowed to fly themselves. And when Mae finally made it to space, she carried them with her. She brought a photo of Bessie Coleman, the first black woman pilot in America. She brought an Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority banner. She brought West African art. Every item was a symbol, a reminder. This isn't just my achievement. This is our achievement. Generations of black excellence finally getting its due. But even after Mae broke through, the barriers didn't disappear. Let me show you how the system tried to suppress what she accomplished. First, educational erasure. Mae Jemison went to space on September 12, 1992. Historic, groundbreaking. The first black woman to leave Earth's atmosphere. So surely every school in America taught her story right-wrong. A survey done in 2020, 28 years after Mae's flight, found that only 12% of American students could identify Mae Jemison. 12%. You know how many could identify Neil Armstrong? 87%. Why the difference? Textbooks. Researchers examined 25 popular high school science textbooks used across America in the 2000s and 2010s. Only 3 mentioned Mae Jemison, 3 out of 25, and only 1 included her photograph. But all 25 had full pages dedicated to Neil Armstrong, multiple photos of him, detailed descriptions of his achievements. He was presented as a hero, an icon. Mae Jemison got a footnote. Maybe. The space race is taught in schools as a white American triumph. We beat the Russians. We put a man on the moon. We won. But the contributions of black mathematicians, black engineers, black scientists erased. Katherine Johnson's calculations made the moon landing possible. But most students never learn her name. Mae Jemison proved that black women belong in space, but most students never see her face. This isn't an oversight. This is systematic erasure. They want your daughters to believe that space is for white men, that science is for white men, that excellence is for white men, and everyone else is just a diversity hire. Second, media manipulation. When Mae launched into space in 1992, the media coverage was brief. A few mentions, a couple of news segments, and the framing first black woman in space. Like it was a novelty, a fun fact, not a monumental achievement. Compare that to Sally Ride, the first American woman in space, in 1983. Sally Ride was on the cover of Time magazine. There were dozens of primetime television specials about her. She became an instant household name. Sally Ride deserved that recognition, but so did Mae Jemison. Yet Mae got a fraction of the coverage. Why the media downplayed her qualifications? They emphasized diversity instead of excellence. The subtle message was, she's here because NASA needed to check a box, not because she earned it. Headlines used coded language. NASA's diversity hire. Following in Sally Ride's footsteps, affirmative action astronaut, all dog whistles, all designed to diminish Mae's achievement. And it worked. By the time Mae returned to Earth, most Americans had already moved on. They didn't ask, how did this brilliant doctor-engineer dancer break every barrier in her path? They asked, is NASA being too politically correct? They turned excellence into controversy. And then there's the documentary gap. By the year 2000, there were over 20 documentaries about Sally Ride, about Neil Armstrong, over 100, about Mae Jemison, less than 5. Hollywood has made countless movies about space: The Right Stuff, Apollo 13, First Man, Gravity, Interstellar. How many of those featured Mae Jemison's Story Zero? Hidden Figures, the movie about Katherine Johnson and the other black mathematicians at NASA, didn't come out until 2016. 2016, 54 years after Katherine Johnson helped put John Glenn in orbit. They waited until most of the women were dead or elderly before telling their stories. That's not honor. That's erasure with a last-minute apology. The impact of all this: your daughters grew up not knowing that black women could be astronauts. Not because we can't, but because they hid the ones who did. Think about that. An entire generation of black girls who might have dreamed of space, who might have pursued science, who might have changed the world, but they never saw Mae Jemison in their textbooks. They never saw her on television. They never knew she existed. That's stolen potential. That's stolen dreams. That's theft. Third, institutional barriers, even after Mae succeeded. In 1993, 1 year after her historic flight, Mae Jemison left NASA. Why? After everything she sacrificed to get there, after breaking down every door, after proving herself in space. Why leave after just one mission? Because NASA's commitment to diversity was performative. They got their first black woman astronaut. They got the headlines. They got the photo op. Mission accomplished. But actual systemic change, support for black astronauts to advance into leadership investment in recruiting more black women, none of that happened. Mae was offered limited opportunities, 1 flight. Then they wanted to move her into public relations, make her the face of diversity while keeping actual power in the hands of white men. Mae refused. She said, I didn't become an astronaut to be a spokesperson. I became an astronaut to go to space, to do science, to push humanity forward. If you won't let me do that, I'll do it somewhere else. So she left, and she built her own empire. The Jemison Group, a technology development company. The 100-year Starship project working to make interstellar travel possible. Science camps for minority students. Teaching positions at Dartmouth and Cornell. Mae created her own platform because NASA's wasn't enough. But let's talk about what Mae faced after NASA. Speaking fees. White astronauts would get $50,000 for a speech. Mae would get offered $15,000. Same credentials, same achievement, different price tag. Book deals. White astronauts got 6-figure advances. Mae got a fraction of that. Corporate board positions. White astronauts were courted by Fortune 500 companies. Mae had to fight for a seat at the table. Academic offers. White astronauts were offered prestigious endowed chairs at top universities. Mae had to build her own programs. This is what they don't tell you. Breaking the barrier once doesn't mean the barrier is gone. Mae opened the door, and they tried to close it behind her. After Mae, how long did it take for another black woman to go to space? 14 years. Stephanie Wilson in 2006. Then Joan Higginbotham, also in 2006. Then a 16-year gap until Jessica Watkins in 2022. As of today, in the year 2026, only 6 Black women have ever been to space. 6. In 68 years of human spaceflight, out of over 560 people who have been to space, only 6 have been Black women. That's about 1%. Do you see the pattern? Mae succeeded despite the system, not because of it. And even after proving herself in space, she still had to fight for respect on Earth. They give us 1 seat at the table. They take 1 million photos. They talk about diversity. And then they act like the work is done. Mae Jemison became the face of NASA diversity. Her image was used in brochures and websites and recruitment materials. But her proposals for systemic change? Often ignored. Her calls for better pipeline programs to recruit Black students into STEM? Underfunded. Her vision for making space accessible to all of humanity? Sidelined. That's not progress. That's performance. They wanted the appearance of inclusion without the reality of equity. Now let me bring this to today, because this isn't ancient history. This is happening right now. As of 2025, NASA's astronaut corps is about 6% Black, all genders combined. Black women specifically, still around 1 to 2%. The total number of astronauts ever selected by NASA is over 360. Black women 6. 6 out of 360. That's 1.6%. In a country where Black women make up about 7% of the population. We're underrepresented by a factor of 4, and it's not just NASA. The STEM pipeline is still broken. Black women earn only 3% of STEM PhDs, 2% of engineering degrees, less than 1% of physics PhDs. Not because of lack of ability, but because the barriers are still there. Let me show you how. Money. The average cost to complete a STEM PhD, when you factor in opportunity cost and time, is between $30,000 and $50,000 that you're not earning, plus years of low or no income while you study. Now, the median wealth of a Black family in America is $24,000. The median wealth of a white family is $188,000. That's an 8-to-1 gap, which means a Black student pursuing a PhD is risking their entire family's wealth. A white student is risking a fraction. That's not a level playing field. That's systematic exclusion through economic violence. Schools. Black students are more likely to attend underfunded schools with fewer AP classes, less access to advanced math and science, older textbooks, no lab equipment. By the time they reach college, they're already behind. Not because they're less smart, but because they were given less resources. Role models. If you don't see anyone who looks like you in a field, why would you think you belong there? Mae Jemison talks about this all the time. She says representation isn't about feelings. It's about possibility. When Black girls see Mae in space, they think, maybe I can do that too. When they don't see her, they think space isn't for people like me. Hostile environments. Black students in STEM programs report higher rates of discrimination, microaggressions, and isolation. Professors who doubt their abilities. Classmates who exclude them from study groups. Advisors who steer them away from ambitious research. The message is clear. You don't belong here. And many leave. Not because they can't handle the work, but because they can't handle the hostility. So when people ask, why aren't there more Black women in STEM? The answer is simple. Because the system is still designed to keep them out. Mae Jemison broke through 38 years ago. and the numbers have barely moved. That should tell you everything. Now let me tell you what this means for you, personally. If your daughter comes to you and says, "I want to be an astronaut," you should be able to say, "Baby, our people have been doing that since 1992. Here's Mae Jemison. Here's Stephanie Wilson. Here's Jessica Watkins. Here are their names. Here's your path. But can you name them? Can you tell her the full story? If not, it's because they hid it from you. And if they hid it from you, they stole something. Not money, dreams. They stole the dream from your daughter before she was even born. By hiding Mae, by erasing the path, by making it seem impossible. This is your stolen inheritance. And I'm not talking about reparations for slavery, though we're owed that too. I'm talking about reparations for erasure. For the black girls who never pursued science because they didn't know they could. For the black women who left STEM fields because the environment was too hostile. For the Mae Jemisons we lost because the barriers were too high. How many brilliant black girls never got the chance? How many future astronauts are working retail because they couldn't afford college? How many future engineers are driving trucks because their schools didn't offer calculus? How many future scientists gave up because no one believed in them? We'll never know. Because they were erased before they even started. That's the theft, and we're owed for it. If this truth is hitting you hard right now, if you're feeling something shift inside, I need you to do something. Comment the word truth below. Let me know you're hearing this. Let me know you're feeling this. Hit that like button, not for me. For every black girl who needs to see this video in her feed. For every young woman who's been told she's not smart enough. For every daughter who needs to know her history. And share this right now. Think of someone who needs to hear this story. Your daughter, your niece, your granddaughter, your sister. That young lady at church who said she's not good at science. Send this to them. Because Mae's story isn't just inspiration, it's proof. Proof that we belong in every space. Proof that excellence is our birthright. Proof that they can't stop us. Now let's get back to the story. Because what Mae did after getting into NASA, that's when things get really powerful. June 4th, 1987. Mae gets the call. She's in. One of 15 people selected from 2,000 applicants. The first black woman ever accepted into NASA's astronaut program. But getting in was just the beginning. Now came 5 years of the most intense training imaginable. 5 years of proving herself all over again. NASA's astronaut training program is designed to break you, to find your limits and push past them, to prepare you for every possible scenario, including the ones where everything goes wrong and you have to stay calm enough to survive. Mae reported to Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas in August 1987. From day one, the training was relentless. She had to master jet flight in T-38 supersonic aircraft. These aren't passenger planes. These are military jets that go from 0 to 600 miles per hour in seconds. Mae had to learn to handle G-forces that crush your chest and blur your vision. She trained in simulators that replicated equipment failures, engine fires, loss of control. Every nightmare scenario over and over until her responses became instinct. She studied orbital mechanics, the math that determines how spacecraft move through space, trajectories, velocity, gravitational assists, rendezvous procedures, how to dock with a space station moving at 17,000 miles per hour. One mistake and you miss. Or worse, you collide. She learned robotics, How to operate the shuttle's mechanical arm to deploy satellites and retrieve equipment. 40 feet long, controlled with precision to the millimeter. One wrong move, and you destroy million-dollar equipment or endanger the crew. She mastered spacewalk procedures. EVA extravehicular activity. Putting on a spacesuit that weighs 280 pounds on Earth. Learning to move in a vacuum where there's no up or down. Training underwater for hours at a time in the neutral buoyancy lab, a giant pool that simulates weightlessness. She studied Russian language because NASA was beginning to work with the Soviet space program. She had to be able to communicate with cosmonauts, read Russian technical manuals, understand instructions in emergencies. She went through survival training. If the shuttle had to make an emergency landing, the crew needed to survive until rescue arrived. So Mae trained in jungles, learning to find water and shelter in humid, tropical heat. She trained in deserts, learning to ration resources in scorching temperatures. She trained in water, learning to survive if the shuttle landed in the ocean. And then there was the physical conditioning. 6 days a week, running, swimming, strength training, flexibility. Astronauts have to be in peak physical condition because space destroys your body. Bones lose density, muscles atrophy. Your heart doesn't have to pump as hard in zero gravity, so it weakens. You have to be strong enough to handle it. The centrifuge training was brutal. They strap you into a machine that spins you in circles, creating artificial gravity. Up to 6 Gs. 6 times your body weight crushing down on you. Your vision tunnels. Blood drains from your brain. You feel like you're going to pass out, and you have to stay conscious. Stay focused, keep performing tasks, because that's what launch feels like. And the vomit comet. That's what they call the KC-135 aircraft that flies in parabolic arcs to create brief periods of weightlessness. You go up, up, up. Then the plane pitches forward and you're falling. For 20 to 30 seconds, you're floating. Then gravity slams back and you crash to the floor. They do this 30 to 40 times per flight. Most people throw up. That's why it's called the vomit comet. Mae had to learn to work in those conditions, to conduct experiments while floating, to move efficiently, to not waste the precious seconds of zero gravity. Through all of this, Mae had advantages that other astronauts didn't. Her dance training gave her superior balance and body control. She understood how to move efficiently, how to control her center of gravity, how to be aware of her body in 3-dimensional space. Her medical training meant she understood what was happening to her body under stress. She could monitor herself, recognize warning signs, manage her physical responses. Her Peace Corps experience gave her mental toughness. She'd already survived in extreme conditions with limited resources. She'd already proven she could stay calm in crises. And her anthropology background gave her cross-cultural communication skills. She could work with people from different backgrounds, different perspectives, different ways of thinking. But Mae still faced challenges that her white colleagues didn't. Some questioned whether she was really qualified or just a diversity pick. The media was more interested in her being the first Black woman than in her actual credentials. And there was pressure, not from NASA exactly, but from the knowledge that she was representing. If she failed, it wouldn't just be Mae Jemison who failed, it would be Black women failed. That's the burden of being first. Your mistakes aren't just yours. They become evidence that people like you don't belong. Mae felt that weight, but she refused to let it break her. She said in an interview years later, "I'm not carrying the race. I'm carrying myself excellently. And that's exactly what she did. In 1990, after 3 years of training, Mae completed her astronaut candidate program. She was now officially a mission specialist astronaut, qualified to fly. But qualifying and being assigned to a mission are two different things. Mae waited. She trained more. She worked on technical projects at NASA. She stayed ready. And in 1991, she got the assignment. Mission STS-47, Space Shuttle Endeavour, Space Lab J, a joint mission with Japan. Launch date September 1992. Mae would be one of 7 crew members. Her role was mission specialist, science experiments, specifically 44 life science and materials processing experiments. She was co-investigator on bone cell research studying how weightlessness affects calcium loss in bones. She would also conduct experiments on frog fertilization, studying reproductive biology in space, on fruit flies, testing genetic changes in zero gravity, on cell cultures, understanding how cells grow differently without gravity. This wasn't symbolic. This was real science. Mae wasn't going to space to wave and smile. She was going to advance human knowledge. The crew trained together for months. Commander Robert Gibson, pilot Curtis Brown, mission specialists Mark Lee, Jan Davis, Jay Apt, payload specialist Mamoru More from Japan, and Mae. They ran simulations, practiced every procedure, studied every system, built trust. Because in space, you depend on each other completely. One person's mistake can kill everyone. They had to function as a single unit, and Mae earned her place. Not because of her race, because of her competence, her precision, her reliability. September 12, 1992, launch day. Mae woke up at 4 in the morning at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. She'd barely slept. Not from nerves, from excitement. This was the day she'd been dreaming about since she was 6 years old, watching Star Trek. 36 years of preparation. Stanford, Cornell, Peace Corps, NASA training. It all led to this moment. She went through the pre-launch routine, medical check, breakfast, though she could barely eat, suiting up. The orange launch and entry suit, bulky, uncomfortable, necessary. If something went wrong during launch or landing, this suit could save your life. She gathered the personal items she was bringing. A poster from the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater honoring her love of dance. A photograph of Bessie Coleman, the first Black woman pilot in America who flew in the 1920s when it was illegal for Black people to get pilot licenses in the U.S. An Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority banner representing her sisterhood. West African art honoring her anthropology studies and her ancestors. Each item was a symbol, a reminder. This isn't just my journey. This is our journey. Generations of Black people who dreamed of flying, who were told no, who persisted anyway. I'm carrying them with me. At 10:23 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Space Shuttle Endeavour launched. 7 astronauts strapped into their seats. 3.8 million pounds of thrust igniting beneath them. The noise is indescribable. Even inside the shuttle, even with helmets on, the roar is overwhelming. The vibration shakes every bone in your body. And then the acceleration. 0 to 17,500 miles per hour in 8.5 minutes. The G-forces press you into your seat. 3 Gs, 4 Gs. Breathing becomes difficult. Your chest feels compressed. Your vision starts to tunnel. This is what all that centrifuge training was for. Mae's heart rate was being monitored. The doctors expected it to spike. It stayed steady, calm, because Mae had been preparing for this her entire life. 8.5 minutes after launch, the main engines cut off. Suddenly, silence and weightlessness. Mae unstrapped from her seat and floated. For the first time in her life, she was in space, 190 miles above Earth, traveling at 5 miles per second. She floated to a window and looked down. Africa, the continent of her ancestors. From space, she could see the curve of the Earth, the thin blue line of atmosphere that protects all life, the blackness of space beyond. No borders, no divisions, just one planet, one humanity. Mae's first words from space were simple. Radio check, testing. This is Mae. But those 4 words, this is Mae, they carried weight. Because Mae wasn't just Mae Jemison, astronaut. She was Mae Jemison, descendant of enslaved Africans. Mae Jemison, great-great-granddaughter of someone who was born in chains. Mae Jemison, proof that 4 generations can go from slavery to space. Think about this for a moment. Mae's great-great-grandmother was born enslaved, property, forbidden to read, forbidden to learn, owned. Mae's great-grandmother was born during Reconstruction, free on paper, but living under black codes and sharecropping that was slavery by another name. Mae's grandmother lived through Jim Crow, segregation, lynching, second-class citizenship, terror. Mae's mother was born during the Depression, grew up during World War II, became a teacher during the Civil Rights Movement, fighting for equality, fighting for dignity. And Mae was orbiting Earth at 17,500 miles per hour, looking down at the whole planet, free. Tell me God doesn't have a plan. Tell me there isn't something divine in that progression, from chains to stars, from bondage to weightlessness, from you can't to watch me. That's not just individual achievement, that's ancestral triumph. Mission STS-47 lasted 7 days, 22 hours and 30 minutes. Mae and the crew orbited Earth 126 times. They traveled 3.3 million miles, and every single day Mae worked 16-hour days. This wasn't a vacation. This was the most intense work environment imaginable. Mae conducted 44 experiments. She was co-investigator on the bone cell research. In space, astronauts lose bone density because bones don't have to support weight in zero gravity. Understanding this process is critical for long-duration spaceflight. If we want to go to Mars, we have to solve this problem. Mae's research contributed to that knowledge. She worked on frog fertilization experiments. How does reproduction work in space? Can life be created in zero gravity? These aren't abstract questions. If humans are going to live in space long-term, we need answers. She studied fruit flies. Genetic mutations happen faster in space because of increased radiation. Understanding this helps us protect astronauts and understand evolution. She monitored materials processing experiments. How do metals and crystals form differently in zero gravity? This has applications for manufacturing and technology. Mae wasn't just participating, she was leading. She was the primary operator for many of these experiments. She was collecting data that would be published in peer-reviewed scientific journals. She was advancing human knowledge, and she was doing it while floating, while eating freeze-dried food, while sleeping in a bag velcroed to a wall, while using a bathroom that's basically a vacuum cleaner. Space is not glamorous. It's uncomfortable. It's difficult. It's demanding. The daily routine was intense. Wake up, exercise for 2 hours to prevent muscle and bone loss. Eat breakfast, which is freeze-dried food that you rehydrate with hot water. Work on experiments. Lunch, more experiments. check systems, monitor equipment, communicate with mission control. Dinner, more work, maybe a few minutes to look out the window. Sleep, repeat. And every 90 minutes the sun rises. Because you're orbiting Earth every 90 minutes. So you see 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets every single day. The view never gets old. Mae would glance out the window between experiments and see the sun illuminating Earth's atmosphere. Blue, gold, purple, breathtaking. She saw Africa, South America, the Pacific Ocean, ice caps, deserts, forests, all of it from a perspective that less than 600 humans in history have ever experienced. And Mae did something that no one had done before. She was the first person to hail radio contact from space using Swahili. She said, "Gari ni wazi," the road is clear, honoring her African heritage from orbit. That moment was symbolic. The road is clear for Black women, for African Americans, for anyone who's been told they don't belong. The road is clear. We've proven it. We've walked it. We've flown it. The crew dynamics were strong. 7 people living and working in a confined space for 8 days. So no privacy, no escape. You have to get along. And Mae did. She was professional, focused, collaborative. No drama, no incidents, just excellence. At one point, Mae did a little ballet in zero gravity, floating, spinning, dancing among the stars, combining her two loves, science and art, proving they're not opposites, they're partners. Years later, Mae said this about her time in space. "I was working in the science module, and I glanced out the window and saw the sun on Earth and thought, this is what I came for. Not the glory, not the fame, not to be first, but for that moment, that connection between humanity and the cosmos, that understanding that we're all part of something bigger." Some people have said Mae was just there for diversity. Let me address that directly. Mae Jemison completed 44 experiments successfully, 0 errors in her assigned responsibilities. Her bone cell research was published in scientific journals and contributed to ongoing research about long-duration spaceflight. The mission was rated a complete success by NASA. Mae didn't just occupy space, she advanced human knowledge while floating 190 miles above Earth. So when someone says she was a diversity hire, show them the data. Show them the results. Show them the science. Excellence speaks for itself. September 20th, 1992, Space Shuttle Endeavour landed at Kennedy Space Center. Perfect landing. Mae Jemison had just become the first Black woman to go to space and return safely. She'd spent 7 days, 22 hours, and 30 minutes in orbit. She'd conducted groundbreaking research. She'd proven that Black women belong in space. The media coverage was mixed. Some outlets celebrated her achievement. Others focused more on the diversity angle than on her scientific contributions. Mae was invited to appear on some talk shows and news programs. But she didn't become a household name the way Sally Ride had. She wasn't on the cover of Time magazine. There were no primetime specials about her life. The recognition was there but muted. And Mae noticed. She noticed that the system that had tried to keep her out was now trying to minimize what she'd accomplished. In March 1993, less than 6 months after her historic flight, Mae Jemison resigned from NASA. People were shocked. Why would you leave? You just made history. You could fly again. You could become a mission commander. You could lead. Mae's answer was simple. She could see the ceiling. NASA had achieved its diversity milestone. First Black woman in space. Check. Photo op complete. but actual systemic change. Opportunities for Mae to advance into leadership investment in recruiting more Black women into the astronaut program. None of that was happening. NASA wanted Mae to become a spokesperson, do publicity tours, talk about diversity, inspire young people. All good things. But that's not what Mae became an astronaut to do. She said, "I didn't become an astronaut to be a spokesperson. I became an astronaut to go to space to do science, to push humanity forward. If you're not going to let me do that, I'll do it somewhere else." And that's exactly what she did. In 1993, Mae founded the Jemison Group, a technology development company. The focus was applying space-age technology to solve problems on Earth, particularly in healthcare delivery in developing countries. She worked on satellite technology that could transmit medical data from remote areas. Telemedicine before it was common. She developed projects to bring clean water and renewable energy to underserved communities. Mae was using everything she'd learned at NASA, everything she'd experienced in the Peace Corps, everything she knew as a doctor and engineer to make a real difference. In 2012, Mae became the principal investigator for the 100-year Starship project funded by DARPA. The goal is audacious: make human interstellar travel possible within the next 100 years, traveling to other star systems. Mae's vision is that space belongs to all of humanity, not just governments or billionaires. She wants to democratize space, make it accessible, ensure that when we become a spacefaring species, we bring everyone, not just the wealthy, not just one race, everyone. Mae also focused heavily on education. She founded The Earth We Share, a science camp for students aged 12 to 16. The camp emphasizes hands-on learning, critical thinking, and collaboration across cultures. It's not about memorizing facts. It's about understanding how to solve problems. Thousands of students, many of them minorities, have gone through the program. Many have gone on to careers in STEM. From 1995 to 2002, Mae taught at Dartmouth College as a professor at large. She developed courses on technology in developing countries, on space exploration, on the intersection of science and society. She continues to teach at Cornell, and she founded Biosentient Corporation, developing advanced medical monitoring technology. Mae also did something that brought her story full circle. In 1993, she appeared on Star Trek: The Next Generation. She played Lieutenant Palmer in the episode Second Chances. Mae is the only real astronaut to ever appear on Star Trek. And when she was asked about it, she said, "I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Nichelle Nichols." Nichelle Nichols, who played Lieutenant Uhura in the original series, the character Mae watched as a 6-year-old girl in Chicago, the character that made her believe a Black woman could go to space. Mae got to thank her on screen, in uniform, as a real astronaut who had actually done it. That moment represents something powerful. Representation matters. Seeing someone who looks like you doing something extraordinary, it opens a door in your mind. It makes you think, maybe I can too. Mae has received numerous awards and honors. She was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame, the International Space Hall of Fame. She's received honorary doctorates from over 15 universities. She's been recognized by countless organizations. But as of 2026, she still hasn't received the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Neil Armstrong got it. Sally Ride got it. Dozens of astronauts have received it. Mae Jemison, the first Black woman in space, a medical doctor, an engineer, a professor, an entrepreneur, a pioneer still hasn't. That tells you something about whose achievements get recognized and whose get overlooked. But Mae doesn't need their validation. She's built her own legacy. Every Black woman astronaut who came after Mae knows her name. Stephanie Wilson, who flew to space in 2006. Joan Higginbotham, also in 2006. Jessica Watkins, who went to the International Space Station in 2022. They all carry Mae's legacy. But Mae's real impact isn't measured in awards. It's measured in dreams. Every Black girl who looks at the stars and says, "I can do that." That's Mae's mission success. Every young woman who chooses a STEM major because she learned about Mae Jemison. That's Mae's legacy. Every mother who tells her daughter, "You can be an astronaut, you can be an engineer, you can be anything," and backs it up with Mae's story. That's the revolution. Mae personally mentored dozens of Black women scientists. She funded scholarships. She wrote letters of recommendation. She made phone calls to programs that were hesitant to accept Black students. She opened doors. She cleared the path. And she's not done. At 69 years old, Mae Jemison is still working, still teaching, still pushing for change, still demanding that space belong to everyone. The 100-year Starship project continues. The science camps continue. The advocacy continues. Because Mae understands something fundamental. Breaking the barrier once doesn't mean the barrier's gone. You have to keep breaking it over and over until it finally shatters completely. Since Mae's flight in 1992, only 5 more Black women have been to space in 34 years, 6 total, out of over 560 humans who have traveled beyond Earth's atmosphere. That's 1.07%. In a country where Black women are 7% of the population, we're still underrepresented by a factor of 6. That's not because Black women aren't capable. It's because the system still has barriers. They're just less visible now, less explicit, but just as effective. Now let me tell you what all of this means for you today, right now. In 2026, Mae Jemison proved that Black women belong in space 34 years ago. So why are we still fighting for the same recognition? Why are Black girls still being steered away from STEM? Why do Black women still face discrimination in physics programs and engineering departments because changing a few faces doesn't change the system? Mae broke down the door, but the house is still standing. And the people who built that house don't want to give up the keys. Let me connect the dots for you. The wealth gap. The median white household in America has $188,000 in wealth. The median Black household has $24,000. That's an 8-to-1 ratio. Why? Because for generations, Black families were systematically prevented from building wealth. And when they did build it, it was stolen. Tulsa, Rosewood, Wilmington, Elaine, destroyed. But even in less violent ways. Redlining meant Black families couldn't get mortgages to buy homes, so they rented, paid someone else's mortgage, built someone else's wealth. Educational funding is tied to property taxes, so Black neighborhoods with lower property values got less funding for schools, fewer AP classes, no advanced science labs, less experienced teachers. And then we wonder why Black students are behind when they reach college. It's not ability, it's resources. Access to STEM careers requires expensive education, 4 years of undergraduate, 4 to 7 years of graduate school, during which you earn little to no money. If your family has wealth, they can support you. If they don't, you go into debt or you give up. That's the barrier, not intelligence, economics. And where did that wealth gap come from? Slavery, Reconstruction, Jim Crow, redlining, urban renewal, mass incarceration, 400 years of systematic extraction of wealth from black communities. Mae Jemison succeeded despite all of this. But how many didn't? How many black girls, just as smart as Mae, never got the chance? How many future astronauts are working minimum wage jobs because they couldn't afford college? How many future engineers are driving trucks because their schools didn't offer calculus? How many future scientists gave up because no one believed in them? We'll never know. And that's the tragedy. Reparations. People say slavery was a long time ago. Mae Jemison went to space in 1992. That's 34 years ago. There are people watching this video right now who watched Mae's launch live on television. This isn't ancient history. This is your lifetime, your parents' lifetime, your grandparents' lifetime. The theft is ongoing. It's happening right now. When a black student is denied admission to a STEM program despite being qualified. When a black woman scientist is paid less than her white colleagues for the same work. When a black girl is told by her guidance counselor that maybe she should consider a less challenging major. That's theft of potential, of opportunity, of future. We are owed, not because of guilt, not because of charity, because of debt. America owes black people for 400 years of stolen labor, stolen land, stolen wealth, stolen lives. And the interest is compounding. Current struggles explained. You know why your neighborhood doesn't have good schools because they destroyed Black Wall Street and every other prosperous black community. You know why your family rents instead of owns because redlining prevented your grandparents from buying property. You know why there are no black-owned businesses on your street because urban renewal bulldozed them in the 1960s. You know why your cousin is in prison for something a white kid would get probation for because mass incarceration is the new Jim Crow. History doesn't repeat. It rhymes. The tactics change. The oppression continues. But here's what they don't want you to understand. You are not victims. Let me say that again. You are not victims. You are survivors of genocide. You are descendants of warriors. You are heirs to stolen empires. Your poverty isn't your fault. It was stolen from you. Your struggles aren't because you're lazy or inferior. It's because they rigged the game, and they're terrified that you'll figure that out. Because when you understand the truth, when you see the pattern, when you connect the dots, you become dangerous, not violent, powerful. Mae Jemison understood this. She refused to accept limitations. She refused to believe the lie that she didn't belong in space. She refused to let anyone else define her worth. And she won. Your ancestors were millionaires. Before Tulsa was burned, Black Wall Street had more wealth per capita than Beverly Hills. Your ancestors built that from nothing. While facing terrorism, they were geniuses. The mathematicians who sent men to the moon. The inventors whose patents were stolen. The entrepreneurs who built thriving businesses despite Jim Crow. Your ancestors were warriors. They fought back. Robert F. Williams in North Carolina. The Deacons for Defense in Louisiana. The men and women who defended their communities when the Klan came. They didn't turn the other cheek. They shot back and won. They did all of this while facing the worst oppression imaginable. And you come from them. That strength is in your DNA. That brilliance is in your blood. That resilience is your inheritance. So when you look at Mae Jemison floating in space, don't just see one woman's achievement. See 400 years of resistance. See generations of people who refuse to quit. See your ancestors' wildest dreams coming true. God preserved you through the Middle Passage. 20% mortality rate on those slave ships. 1 in 5 Africans died before reaching America. But your ancestors survived. Why? So you could be here. God brought you through 246 years of slavery. Beatings, starvation, families torn apart. But the lineage continued. Why? So you could be here. God kept you alive through Jim Crow, lynchings, massacres, systematic terrorism. But you made it. Why? So you could be here. God didn't bring you through 400 years of hell to watch you quit now. God didn't preserve your DNA through genocide to see you settle for less. God didn't give you Mae Jemison's example to watch you doubt yourself. You have a mission: to reveal truth to your children, to demand justice from those in power, to reclaim the excellence that is yours by birthright, to fly higher than they ever imagined. Mae Jemison wasn't an accident. She was a prophecy. A prophecy that says, we were born to fly. The sky is not your limit. It's just the beginning. You're descended from people who survived the unsurvivable. You carry their strength. You inherit their dreams. You continue their fight. And when you succeed, you're not just succeeding for yourself. You're vindicating every ancestor who died dreaming of freedom, every grandmother who couldn't go to school but made sure you could, every grandfather who worked 3 jobs so you wouldn't have to, every great-great-grandmother born in chains who looked at the stars and wondered. You are their answered prayer. You are their wildest hope. You are their revenge against a system that tried to break them. And you are still here, still rising, still reaching for the stars. If you've made it this far, you're here for a reason. God brought you to this moment, to this truth. Now here's what I need you to do. First, subscribe to this channel. Hit that button right now, because we're exposing hundreds more stories like this. Stories they buried, stories they erased, stories your children need to know. We're not stopping with Mae Jemison. We're telling every story they tried to hide. Second, tell your children Mae's name tonight. Don't wait. Sit them down and say, in 1992, Dr. Mae Jemison became the first Black woman in space. She was a doctor, an engineer, a dancer, and a revolutionary. She proved that Black women belong everywhere, including the stars. And you come from the same people she comes from. Third, share this video. I'm serious, not for views, for legacy, because somewhere right now, a 10-year-old Black girl is scrolling on her phone. And she needs to see this. She needs to know that space is hers, that science is hers, that excellence is her birthright. You might be the person who shares this with her. You might change her life. Fourth, support Black women in STEM. Donate to scholarship funds for Black students. Mentor a young person interested in science. Buy from Black women-owned tech companies. Invest in the next Mae Jemison. Because here's the truth. Mae broke the door down, but they're trying to close it again. Only 6 Black women have been to space ever. In 68 years. 6. That's not progress. That's resistance. And we don't accept it. Not anymore. Mae showed us the way. We don't ask for seats at the table. We build our own table. We own the table. And we invite who we want. Now let's pray. Father God, we thank you for Dr. Mae Carol Jemison. We thank you for preserving her through every barrier, for giving her strength, brilliance, and courage. Lord, we thank you for her ancestors, the enslaved who survived so she could be born, the grandparents who migrated north seeking a better education, the mother who taught her you can be anything, the father who worked 3 jobs for her opportunity. We pray for every Black woman Mae represents. Katherine Johnson, whose math sent men to the moon, but who never got to fly herself. Bessie Coleman, who died chasing the dream of flight. Every little girl who looked at stars and was told, "That's not for you." We pray for the next generation. Bless every Black girl who dreams of space. Strengthen every Black woman in STEM who faces discrimination. Give wisdom to every Black mother, teaching her daughter, "You are capable of anything." We pray for justice, for recognition of those who came before, for reparations for opportunity stolen, for dismantling of barriers that still exist. We pray for vision. Help us see what you see. A people destined for greatness. Help us remember. We were born to fly. Help us teach. The sky is not the limit. It's just the beginning. Bless those who watch this video. Awaken truth in their spirits. Empower them to demand what is theirs, and give them courage to reach for stars. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. Walk in truth. Demand justice. Teach your children their real history. Dr. Mae Jemison proved we don't just survive oppression, we transcend it. From slave ships to starships, from chains to weightlessness, from you can't to watch me. You are descended from star touchers. Never forget it. Build wealth. Demand reparations. Reach for the cosmos. You are free.